All right. So I came across this article today. What Black student loan borrowers should know about Biden's new Plan B for debt relief. And I'm sure y'all heard about the new student loan forgiveness plan, but I'm just trying to figure out, like, didn't we already go through this last year? Didn't we already go through this last year where election time is coming up and they roll out this plan that's supposed to attract new voters, and I'm just not feeling it this time around. It's almost like the fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me type deal. I don't know. I'm not liking all these tactics on either party. I'm sure some of you probably have seen the video. Most of you probably haven't, but I just the other day released a video regarding the Trump supporters putting out fake images of Trump hanging out with black folks in the hood. And I think this is on that same level of just trying to do or say anything to attract the black vote. And as I said in that video, I don't really care which way a person votes. I like for people to be informed. Like, just make your decision based on something that is makes sense. And to me, just putting this out, 6 months, 7 months before the election, just is, I'm not liking it. So let's get into this video. Let's see what kind of nonsense they're gonna be talking. It's Ricky Rich with Black Primacy. Please like, comment, subscribe, and turn on your notifications.
Million Americans, and we're going to make that number grow. That's the bottom line. We're aggressive toward making sure we're fixing a broken higher ed system, including the loan system. Today, we've provided over $132 billion in debt relief, more than 3.6 million Americans, and we're going to make that number grow. That's the bottom line.
Hey, Griot fam, it's Jaron Keith Gaynor, White House correspondent and managing editor of politics at The Griot, and I'm here with Education Secretary Miguel Cardona. Secretary, always a pleasure to have you at The Griot.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
Today, the White House announced that borrowers under the administration's new SAVE program, some of them have had their student loans canceled. First, tell us how many qualified for the student debt cancellation and what contributed to this early announcement, because I understand this is about almost 6 months earlier.
Look, we're aggressive toward making sure we're fixing a broken higher ed system, including the loan system. Today, we've provided over $132 billion in debt relief, more than 3.6 million Americans, and we're going to make that number grow. That's the bottom line. We're going to keep fighting to get as much as possible. What we announced today is part of a program that we...
And that's the other thing. They keep throwing out all these numbers. I don't know about y'all, but I personally don't know a single person who has received debt relief from the Biden administration. I've seen comments and forums and posts of people who have, but I personally don't know anybody who has actually received it. So drop a comment if you have. I'd be curious to see some real numbers there.
Rolled out last year, the SAVE plan. The SAVE plan is basically an income-driven repayment plan that only allows you to pay what you can afford when you're paying back student loans. We had too many people going into default, so we came up with the income-driven repayment plan called SAVE. Part of SAVE is what we're announcing today is if you took out a loan for $12,000 or less and you've paid for 10 years, your loan will be forgiven. So the threshold used to be 20 years for a loan of $12,000 or less. We dropped it to 10 years of loan repayment. The purpose here is to reduce the number of people that go into default. We saw that there were too many people that had debt under $12,000 or took out loans for under $12,000 that were not able to make ends meet, whether life happened and they had to leave school and they didn't finish their degree, or but they still had debt. We recognize that that's a high number of folks who are going into default, and we felt that if they're paying their loans for 10 years and their loans were less than $12,000, we're going to provide debt relief. We were going to roll that out in July. We rolled it out earlier. There are other benefits that are coming in July for those who apply for SAVE. So the goal is to get folks to line up for SAVE so they could get those emails if they took out those loans that they're debt free.
Mm-hmm. And while we're on the topic of cancellation, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up what every Black borrower says to the GRIO and to me. Yeah. They want to know when broad-based student debt cancellation under this potential new program under the Higher Education Act, which is currently still in the public rulemaking process, can we expect to get an announcement about this calendar year?
Well, look, we're hoping so, right? We're pushing to try to get as much done as quickly as possible. I want those borrowers to understand. I'm with you. Look, we wanted the HEROES Act. We believe very strongly the HEROES Act gave us the authority for 40 million borrowers to receive debt relief, up to $20,000 for Pell recipients. That was the president's plan. I mean, it was more aggressive than anybody ever thought with regard to what we were talking about in the beginning with $10,000. So we are being aggressive with that, keeping in mind that we have to take into account now the Supreme Court decision. And they're likely, if we get sued, which is very likely that our Republican colleagues are going to throw out lawsuits to face similar, judgments. So we have to make sure we're moving forward carefully, listening to what the response of the Supreme Court was when they shut down the other debt forgiveness program. But for your listeners, I want them to hear very clearly from me. We're going to do everything in our power to provide debt relief, ease of repayment, benefits like having those who are in the SAVE program have only 5% of their disposable income used for student loans, as opposed to 10%, which is what it was before. We're trying to make it easier to repay loans. We're providing a safety net of a year for those who are struggling to make payments. We're holding our servicers accountable for bad practices. We're charging them $9 million already for the mistakes that they've made. We've improved FAFSA to make it easier. Public service loan forgiveness. There were only 7,000 people in the last administration that benefited from it. 98% of the people that applied for it were denied. Teachers, nurses, veterans. We are up to 750,000 people, over $50 billion in debt. There's a clear difference between our approach and other people's approach. So, we're going to keep fighting. I want the message to be as quick as possible, but I also want it to be as broad as possible. And that requires a lot of negotiation back and forth, making sure that whatever we put forward, we can pass muster and we're not going to get knocked down with lawsuits, which we know our extreme colleagues on the right are waiting for us to make any announcement so they could try to stop us. There's a team fighting for you, and there's a team fighting to stop us fighting.
That's also what I want to know. Like, what's stopping the other side from stopping this as well? Like, it just they're not saying anything about it playing any kind of defense to what happened the first time. So it's the same promises. There's no defense in play. So I'm not gonna be surprised when this falls through after the election again this time.
And the administration has canceled student debt. A stream of announcements have been coming since the Supreme Court decision. I believe more than 3 million Americans have had their student debt cancellation, as you mentioned, the public service
3 million out of 40 million to begin with. Okay.
Program. Do you think that enough Americans are aware of these efforts to cancel student debt, and could the administration do more to make them aware of that?
I mean, we could always do more, right? I mean, we're working really hard with our colleagues. We have, even in the SAFE plan, right? The SAFE plan is an amazing benefit. We're working with Young Invincibles and many others to try to get the message out. We're working with our educator groups to get the message out into their network. We're doing Spanish media, English media. We're trying to get the word out. We're making the process simpler. We're reaching out to borrowers directly. We're emailing them with information. So we're working on making sure the message gets out. These are benefits and they're real. 3.6 million Americans benefited from some form of debt relief. I was on a call maybe 20 minutes ago, and I was speaking to someone who got over $120,000 in debt relief. That's significant. That's life changing. And it's happening more and more because we're pushing. We're getting, people are fighting us every step of the way, but we know we're doing the right thing when we hear from folks like educators who I heard from in New Hampshire earlier this week, who said the $20,000 in debt relief she got, she's able to help her husband have access to a bathtub because he's handicapped, and they could do that with dignity. These are the type of things that we're hearing across the country. So we got to elevate that message, and we're not going to stop fighting. More has been done in 2.5 years than any other administration combined. Any other administration, we've done more in 2.5 years, and we're not going to stop.
And to your point, I mean, the administration has been very diligent in trying to lower costs for borrowers, to cancel student debt. And we are in an election year where this administration wants to make the case that it wants to be reelected. I know you're covered under the Hatch Act, but more broadly, what is at stake if the Biden-Harris administration does not get another 4 years as it relates to student loans and the affordability of education?
I mean, look, I think it's really important that folks pay attention to what people are saying, not only in the administration, but in Congress.
Exactly. Pay attention to what people are saying. Also pay attention to the actions and the things that have been done prior to. I feel like these types of things that are being rolled out and things that are being said are all being done with the thought that most people aren't going to remember the past, like remember the past 4, 5, 6, 8 years. And I mean, it's the information is all out there. We just have to make an informed decision and pay attention to what people are saying and what people are actually doing.
I had folks trying to block the debt forgiveness plan after having received over $1 million in debt relief themselves. That's the hypocrisy that we're seeing here. The Hatch Act prevents me from talking about election topics, but check the receipts. Look at what we've done. Look at what we've done in this administration to put borrowers first, to put students first. Not only in higher ed, $130 billion in recovery aid to schools, K-12 schools, after-school programs, tutoring programs. There's dollars for 14,000 more school social workers and mental health providers at a time where we have a youth mental health crisis, at a time where some of our colleagues on the Hill are trying to cut our budget for Title I schools by 80%. It's not hard math. We have folks that are fighting for students and see education as an investment in our country, and we have folks that don't. Now, I'll just leave it there.
Secretary Miguel Cardona, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah. I don't know. Everything always sounds good, but like I said before, it just seems like another way to try and pull voters in. In the video that I did about Trump, I talked about how both administrations are trying to get that middle ground of people who really just don't know which way to go, and a lot of people really at this point don't know, especially a lot of people that were pro Biden before. And this is a clear example of something that they're trying to do to try and pull people to one side of the administration. And to me, it just sounds like another false promise. And this either way doesn't directly benefit me either way, or hurt me either way. I don't have student loan debts. I'm completely debt free. That's how I roll. That's how I rock. I don't carry debt for these types of reasons, because I don't want to be dependent on a government to try and assist me in the future. And so, but this does affect the Black community more than any other community when it comes to carrying debt in general, but mostly student loan debt. So this to me is uh a clear example of an administration trying to finesse the black vote. So y'all make sure you check out the Trump video I did as well. Like I said at the beginning of the video, my only hope is that voters out there just make an informed decision. Don't make a decision based off some pictures you see of Trump chilling with the homies. Link in the in the description, and also don't make a decision based off of these policies that we clearly, like, not even a year ago, not even 6 months ago, these policies these policies were shut down, and we all felt like we were lied to. So we're gonna fall for that again. Like I said, doesn't matter who you vote for, just make an informed decision. It's Ricky Rich with Black Primacy. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on your notifications.